Hey, welcome to Performance Anxiety, part of the Pantheon Podcast Network. I'm your host, Mark, and I will freely admit that I am not an authority on electronica. So I was a little nervous about having Rona Rougeheart from SINE on the podcast. But she was very patient with me and walked me through how she got into music, who made the biggest impact on her, and some of the wildest things she's experienced, like the time Peter Murphy missed a makeup gig in Orlando, and she and some band members had to perform an impromptu Bauhaus jam for the audience. She also discusses her relationship with Mackey and the effect that he's had on her music, how she came up with the band name SINE, and the new music she's working on. We also talk about her COVID musical coincidences, my son's hair, and our mutual love of boxers. So check out her social media at Rona Rougeheart and at SINE Band Official. Pick up her album on eMERGENCY heARTS and follow us at Performance ANX on social media. Please rate and review the podcast. And you can also help keep it going through ko-fi.com/performanceanxiety or performanceanx.threadless.com. So let's dive right into things with Rona Rougeheart of SINE. That's S-I-N-E, all caps, on Performance Anxiety, part of the Pantheon Podcast Network.
I don't know. It's a lot of words. I'm just kidding. Okay, let's go. Okay, ready? 1, 2. Hi, this is Rona Rougeheart from SINE, and you're listening to Performance Anxiety Podcast. Check us out at sine.band and get our new release, Desire, Denial, and Paramania, out now. Is that okay? Okay.
Well,
yeah, but I'm overall doing okay, so that's why I'm like, let's just hop on and chat.
That's awesome.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for hopping on. And you are a drummer professionally, but I want to find out a little bit more about how you got into music before we get into new releases and new projects and things. So I did a little research, found out that you were a military brat and your dad was a musician. So
yes.
was he, which one of your parents was military?
My father.
Okay.
Yeah, so my father was in the Air Force.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And my mom's from Taiwan, and he met her while on duty, so.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
And he was also a musician. Was that part of his military duty, or was that just something he did on the side, or?
It was a hobby. It was something that he did on the side. He was a music lover, and I think that's kind of why I am the way I am. I think just he passed on to me the love of music, and really, that's where it all stems from.
What did he play?
He's a guitar player. He actually started as a guitar player, and then he started to get more interested in keys, and he would play songs on like organs and keyboards and stuff. He was really into that.
Awesome.
But he was just as good of a guitar player as he was a keyboard player. So.
Oh, wow. Did you start off as a drummer? Did you start off playing guitar, following his footsteps?
Well, I did not start as a drummer because, at the time when I was, when you're a child, you don't, I don't know. You just don't know what you like yet,
Yeah,
so you're
exactly.
still looking and exploring. And so he taught me and my sisters how to play on the keyboard and play songs like Beatles songs and other random tunes that he would find that'd be easy for us. And my sisters, they were like, they liked it okay, but not too much. But I really liked it.
Oh.
And he could tell. So that's kind of where it stemmed from. Him teaching me keyboards. And then I asked him to teach me some guitar because I was just naturally interested in everything that made music,
Okay.
So, I did try to play guitar. I can play guitar. I know how to, but it's just not natural to me,
Okay.
I think I gravitated more towards the drums because I like dancing and movement and I like beats.
Ah, okay.
So it kind of was like a natural thing for me to go there, but I also really love electronics too. And I still play synths and stuff. So
What really got you into music and got you playing music in front of people? Was there like a...
2 words.
Okay.
Depeche Mode.
Oh, there you go. Wow.
Depeche Mode. And I am not the only musician to say this, but they're highly influential. And I know there's several artists that I've heard interviews, like Chino Moreno from Deftones. He went to Depeche Mode concert and had that like, wow, I want to do this. And then even Trent Reznor says when he went and saw Black Celebration tour, I believe, and I'm not quoting on all this, but I believe that's what he said. But it just amazes me. And I'm like one of their musical children too. So it was my love for Depeche Mode that brought me here.
Were you drumming at that time? Was it the...
No.
No, okay.
I was not. So I was primarily just playing keyboards.
Oh.
Because that's what they were doing. So I was like, that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You know? And you know, it was just kind of a natural thing. You know, I really gravitated towards their music and I loved it, and had to go back and like get everything of theirs and listen to everything. I mean, there were times where I listened to nothing but Depeche Mode.
I am not dissimilar.
Yes.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
You just totally go for it. And you're just like, I can't get enough of it. Oh my gosh. I didn't say that on purpose. I just can't get enough of them. See, I guess Vince Clarke knew something all from the beginning. But anyway.
They just seeped into your everyday vernacular.
They have. I mean, like literally, I'm sitting right here and next to me, I've got an Anton Corbijn book, which I love. I'll show you. I don't know if this is probably all audio, but I love this book.
Oh,
Anton
wow.
Track book. So I'm kind of going off track. I hope you don't mind.
Not at all.
But I also want to show you another thing here.
Yeah.
This huge book. Hold on. I have to find my ear. Sorry. I'm very enthusiastic when it comes to Depeche Mode.
That's
yes.
great. Wow.
Have you seen this book?
No. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. So it's all of Anton Corbijn's like photos that he did for Depeche Mode and of Depeche Mode.
Wow. Good God, it's thick.
It's huge. I can't even hold it up to the camera properly because it's just really heavy. But yeah, that's how into Depeche Mode I am.
That's amazing.
Yeah, they're the dream band, the dream career, dream record labels, you name it.
Yeah, I absolutely understand what you're saying. I know I've got bands like that, and a lot of people I've had on the podcast have bands like that, and then it's I just love seeing people so enthusiastic about a certain band. This is the band that got me into it. I love that.
Oh yeah, and even to this day, I mean, they're always my number one fave. I'm a lifer.
Yeah.
I'm a lifer of the Black Swarm.
So how soon after that show did you start playing in bands and playing out in public?
Well, you know, I didn't start playing out in public until, I don't know, like 2012 or something like that.
Okay.
It was like after I moved to Austin. 'Cause like, you know, I don't know. When I started to do music, I really didn't think like, oh, how am I going to form a band? I really didn't even think about that. It didn't occur to me.
Oh, wow.
until later. Yeah, because you're just kind of like, oh, I'd love to do that, but you don't really I didn't really lay the path, you know what I mean? It just like everything kind of came together. So it wasn't until I moved to Austin, Texas that I started to find bandmates. And by this time I was fully a drummer. So I was really into the Foo Fighters.
Wow.
I know I'm very diverse in like my influences, but for a while there, I just really loved the Foo Fighters, and I had that same effect where I like had to go listen to all their stuff, and I was like, wow, I love like Dave Grohl's drumming, and you know, so I kind of went on a kick, you know, like a Foo Fighters kick, you know, and got into some bands and played in Austin, but you know, ultimately, I think who I am on the inside, the electronic musician and the lover of that kind of type of music just shows through, it's like something I can't ignore. So while I still love bashing away the drums, which I really, really do, I really, really do, I still like the sexiness of electronics and things like that. So not that drums can't be sexy, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it.
It's different vibes.
Yeah, absolutely. So how did the professional side of this thing come about? Is SINE your first actual professional band, or were there others before this?
There were others before this. This is mine. I mean, I've been in other bands that were run by other people, but I was in a band in Austin, Texas called Dead Love Club.
Oh.
And I was their drummer for a few years, and it was really fun.
Let's kick it up all night. Let's kick it up all night. Looking for some action. Let's get it, you and I. We're going out tonight. I got my pants tight. I like my shoes, what? I got an appetite.
And when we first started playing together, I was new to Austin, and I went to the Austin Music Foundation, which they talk to people who are new and kind of give you some connections.
Oh, cool.
And I met with the director there. His name was Alex Vallejo, and he's pretty heavy into the music biz here in Austin, Texas, and his family is very well known and respected. So he took all my information and just kind of found out what are you looking for? And so gave him all my information and said bye. And then he called me about 5 minutes later, and he's like, "Hey, do you want to join my band?"
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, "What? Oh, what band is it?" He's like, "Oh, it's called Dead Love Club." He's like, "I'll send you a video link or something, a song." And so he sent me that. And as soon as I saw it, my first thoughts were My Life with the Thrill Kill Cult.
Oh, wow.
Like, that was the vibe that I got off of this. And I was like, yes, I want to be in this band. So when I was in Dead Love Club, we actually opened for Thrill Kill Cult twice.
Oh,
we opened for them in San Antonio and then like twice in Austin. So it was a regional thing. But I felt like we were kind of like the TKK babies, we were almost like a little bit campy and sexy and bondagey and all this other stuff, It was fun. It was a lot of fun. And the reason why that I parted ways with them was because they decided to take the band in another direction and do more of like 80s cover, kind of like new wavy stuff.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know, it just seemed like it was right for them. And for me, I just didn't know how to really drive in that sector. So
yeah.
And plus I also wanted to make my own kind of music, and I wanted to take my own opportunities. So, so we just parted ways, mutually, and they're still out there. They're kicking ass.
Nice.
I mean, they're doing so awesome. Yeah. And it's all good, and
that's good to hear.
But yeah, so that, I would say that was my first professional experience was with Dead Love Club for sure.
And how did you come up with the idea for SINE? How, first of all, is there anything behind the name and the all caps?
Well, when I was putting music together, I didn't have a name, and I really just wanted something like garbage, like curve. It was like one word kind of thing. And curve and garbage both are big influences on SINE's music. So I was kind of going along with that. And plus I didn't want to be like Rona Rougeheart solo. I want to be a band. I want to have the name of a band. And so I've just been racking my brain and didn't really have any alternates or any. It's very strange, but I just wanted this word. And one day I just woke up and I actually saw it, how you like blink and you see like images. Mm-hmm. So I just saw the word SINE in all caps.
Wow.
And happened to like the way it looked. And I was like, oh, okay, well then that's it. I guess it kind of chose me. And when I went and looked it up, I wanted to see if there were other bands using it. And there are some. I think there was a band in Germany that was using the name SINE, but they they were not very active at the time, and they didn't have, it was a different type of vibe in music.
Okay.
You know, so I felt like, well, you know, I'm not trying to steal anyone's name, but no one in the US has the name SINE.
Hey, there you go.
I don't know. That might be kind of weird to talk about, but you know, people are always like, you stole my band name. And I'm like, I don't want to steal anyone's band name. So I had to try and make my own.
No, one of the constants on this is how hard it is to find a band name at this point.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, you might as well get really ridiculous. Like, speaking of, you know, spoke about Dave being a Dave Grohl fan.
Yeah.
I was a really big fan of his project that he did with Josh Homme and
John Paul Jones.
Yes, John Paul Jones.
Them Crooked Vultures.
Yes. And he said, and I think Josh Homme was the one that said, you know, we just came up with something ridiculous, like Them Crooked Vultures, you know, who's really going to have that, you know? So, and that's how they got their band name. And I'm like, of course, you know, if you want to try some absurd wordlings, I think you could probably come up with something.
Oh yes. 3 nonsense words that don't go together. So,
Yeah.
So my buddy was actually in the live version of that band.
Oh, really?
Alan Johannes.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. How cool. I love him. Yeah.
He's one of the early guests on the podcast.
Yes. Okay. So I had just moved to Austin when they played ACL, Them Crooked Vultures played, and I was so upset that I didn't get to go.
Yeah.
And it actually rained. I mean, that year, I think it was the year that it rained during ACL, and everyone got so muddy and nasty. And then people had like rashes all over their legs from the grass treatment or whatever the heck.
Maybe it was all that cedar.
Yeah, probably all that too. Yeah. But yeah, I do remember them coming to town and me not getting to see them. And I was so very, very sad.
Yeah, I never got the chance to see them either. In fact, I've never seen Alan play live.
I have not either.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, but Queens of the Stone Age I've seen several times, and they're one of my faves too.
Oh man, yeah.
I love Queens of the Stone Age. I do have some influences from them in my songs as well, you know.
Yeah, you sound like you got a huge variety of sounds in your music.
Yeah, for me, I think I stay in a certain area of genre, you know, I like to be in the darker electronic dance, industrial stuff. But as far as what I'm a fan of, I love all kinds of music. I mean, it doesn't matter what genre it is. Like you give me a good song and I like it. Yeah. You know?
Well,
and but certain bands just hit me harder than others, you know, and then they become more influential. But I have thrown in bits of influences from songs that I've just liked.
Oh, cool.
You know, so yeah, I mean, I like to kind of gather my brain circuitry from everywhere.
That makes the most interesting music.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes I do actually feel like, you know, is my music like kind of weird, or maybe is it not exactly what people are looking for? You know, I certainly have those thoughts, as probably most musicians do. But in the end, it's kind of like, well, you know, this is kind of what comes out of my brain. So I guess I just have to roll with it and see how it goes. If
you're forcing music or trying to make your music sound like somebody else or not true to what you want to do, it's always evident. It always sounds like it's being forced. Yeah. Your music does not sound forced at all.
Oh, thanks. So. I appreciate that.
I got several more questions to ask you about, everything really. But I wanted to tell you how much I loved Communion, Temptation, Fate and Superstition, Get In, Get Off, those songs. Yay. That's the sound of the electronica. I don't want to say genre, but that's the sounds that I like in electronica is exactly what you've come up with in those, specifically those 4 off the first album.
Yes, I'm done for ignition, the repetition of your fate and superstition. Show me the way, lead it up, no shame in your face, picking it up, shakes in your face, throwing it along.
for saying that. I haven't had anyone say that they really like gravitated towards Fate and Superstition. I used to do that live. I haven't done it live and Getting It Off. I used to do it live too, and I don't anymore.
Oh man.
So interesting that you say that. So
those are my, I like the dark. I don't really dance. Yeah. And I don't dance. I'm like a, mid-40s white dude. It's just, so, I like the darker stuff, the darker, slower stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And see, that's kind of where I'm at sometimes, like even with the song Temptation, it's like, a lot of the music that I write and Communion, I like to have like a deep brooding kind of like thing over you, Yeah. It's meant to be like a little aggressive and, kind of, how should I put this? It's like a commanding type of feel, A little bit of dominating. Yes, but it's also in a way of like, I think a lot of my lyrics are kind of like eye openers, like look what's happening around you, or, are you really going to stand for this particular type of treatment from another person? And so, and like with Temptation, that song I wrote because I just saw how tempting things bring people's lives down.
Temptation, I'll follow you around and weigh you down. My name's Temptation.
Oh,
whether it be drugs, gambling, sex, whatever it is that tempts you will ruin your life. It's a song about that. And it's embodying the thing. Like, hi, my name's Temptation. Like, oh, I'll do whatever you want. Yeah, sure. That's me. And that, you know what I mean? It's enticing.
Yes.
So I really like that twist. I tried to put a little bit of sarcasm and humor into my lyrics.
So who is in the band at this point? Is it just you doing everything?
Yeah, just me. Currently, it is just me. And it's not because I don't want bandmates, but COVID happens, pandemic happens, and everyone gets separated, and we all have to figure out new ways to be musicians, and a lot of us have to be that alone.
Yeah, exactly. And so the genre that you specialize in kind of lends itself to that.
Yes,
fortunately,
Yes, I agree. And that was one thing about SINE that I wanted to make sure of when I created the band, was that I wanted to be I use the word modular a lot, because if I wanted to have a guitar player, or I've been doing shows in 2019 with a drummer. So it was like me and my drummer. It was just the two of us. We basically two drummers on stage.
Oh, cool.
And it worked out great. But I haven't been able to play any shows with him lately because we've been separated for a year and almost 2 years. Lots of things change, and I've had to kind of morph into what I am now. So eventually I'm open to that. But right now I am basically creating all the music on my own and starting to collaborate with other people.
Okay.
And I just signed with a label called heARTS.
Yes.
Yes. And they're super great. And Scott Crow's the owner, founder of the label, and he has been a tremendous help in connecting me with lots of people. And one specifically, Mark Pistol, who's known for Consolidated. He and I have been doing some music together. So,
oh, nice.
There's some collabs going on and future collaborations. So that's always nice.
I've seen that you've done a lot with Mackey.
Yes.
How did that relationship get started?
Well, we met each other in 2014, maybe.
Okay.
Something. We didn't actually so we started, I know I'm kind of like going way back now. So
no, that's what I love. This is what I love.
14, but I think we just like met briefly, at a lyceum or something, and became Facebook friends or whatever. And there was nothing, he was just another person in the world, but it wasn't until later on, around 2000, I don't know, 15, 16 or so, that we reunited and kind of saw each other again, and had began a relationship. So that's kind of how it all happened. It was very organic and real. And because we both are musicians and we both love music and we love creating, it was just kind of natural to work together. And I also like to get his expertise and his experience on some things. I'd play him some music, and sometimes he would say, "Oh, I want to add some percussion or something to your music." And so that's kind of how it went. And then with the song Drugs in particular, he actually sings on the song Drugs.
Yeah.
Rage and emotion.
They only like you for your drugs. They only like you for your heart. Messed up, nowhere to go. Your life out of control. Messed up, nowhere to go. Your life out of control.
When we were in the studio, I wrote that song kind of half. I wrote it in studio and away, but with the chorus part, I just really wanted to beef it up, So I needed to have a good male voice presence, and I love Curse's voice, and so he was the right choice. And
Excellent.
but yeah, everything's really great. I'm happy to have him in my life and in my world, because we collaborate and we make good stuff happen.
We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors. You guys, like you said, made some great music, and I heard, I guess I want to say heard. I guess that's the best way to say it. A story of how well you guys can collaborate off the cuff when Peter Murphy didn't show up for a gig.
Yes.
What happened there?
Well, what happened there was SINE had been asked to be the opener for Peter. And this was like, I was very, very excited about that. I mean, that was like the biggest show I've ever played as SINE, amazing. And so I was really ready for it. I was like, oh yeah, this is great. So, basically, I guess everyone kind of knows the story, I mean, Peter just wasn't feeling well and decided not to show. And David J.
Decided not
to show.
Sick.
Yeah. Well, he's Peter. He can do that. So we kind of had to gather ourselves quickly. And David just didn't want to leave the people hanging again, because it was a makeup date. Actually, it was a second makeup date. Sorry.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So the crowd was already kind of prickly,
Yeah.
So that was the reason why David J. just said, all right, well, you, Rona, and Curse, let's go do this kind of little impromptu Bauhaus and dub experience for the people who stayed.
God.
And that's how it happened. And I mean, we had literally 20 minutes from the time I left the stage to the time we were back on stage. It was 20 minutes to figure out what we were going to do.
Whoa.
And and I mean, it's one of those things where when someone tells you something and it's so shocking that your brain just completely empties out and you're like, what's happening?
Yeah.
Because when Curse was the one that broke the news to me, he says, don't break down your gear, because we're going to play again with David. We're going to play Bauhaus tunes with David. And then all of a sudden my brain goes, do I know any Bauhaus tunes? You know what I mean?
Yes.
It was one of those moments where I was like, okay. Like, okay. And we know these songs. But in that very moment, my brain went, I don't know anything. Yeah. So we both had our little, oh shit moments or whatever, but it turned out great. And David was a hero for it. And, it's quite the story in our little songbook,
It really is. That's one of the wildest stories I've heard. It's just coming up with an impromptu set, 20 minutes, playing songs that you're not prepared to play.
Yeah. And for me, it was extra awkward because my rig was front and center from my opening slot. And I asked David J, I said, hey, do you want me to move my rig over to the side? And he goes, no. And I'm like, no,
sure?
Okay. And so I'm like, great, I'm front and center in this whole thing. So it was a little nerve-wracking at first, but I was like, don't look him in the eyes.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
Man, front and center for a potentially unruly crowd.
Yeah, it was interesting. But I think after we kind of settled in, we were like, all right, everyone's enjoying this and it's actually a lot of fun. And, the band started to come alive. So
that is
great.
That's a credit to you guys as musicians, because I haven't heard anything like that. And it's just, God,
you can't crumble.
No.
Yeah.
God,
I mean,
bless it.
When you're a musician on stage, the show must go on,
So had the first album come out at that point? Insomnia? Okay.
Yes.
What about the EP?
Insomnia.
Injected.
So that one came out in November. So that was after the show.
Okay.
So the show happened in April of 2019, and then Injected came out in November of 2019.
Okay. And you didn't have any forewarning of Corona for that one?
No, that was not COVID related. I know. Pretty funny, huh? And what's weird about it is when I created that artwork, I liked the syringes and this kind of formation of like the three crosses in a way,
Yeah.
And when I created the wording for Injected, if you look at it, the J has a line in it to look like infected.
I'm looking at it right now. Oh my gosh, yes.
So it's like injected, infected, wow. That's pre-COVID, everyone. I did not do that on purpose.
Once again, you're front and center on this. Don't blame Rona for this. And it's, Corona, Rona, infected.
I know, right?
Wow.
See, isn't that odd? I think it's strange. And then my partner's name is Curse,
That's, wow. I didn't even think of that.
I'm just kidding.
Wow.
But it's and the other thing that's even funnier, I guess, is the song that I did with Chris Connolly called Desolate District.
Yes.
That happened pre-COVID too.
Oh my God.
We did not write Desolate District for COVID.
It's in the corners of your everyday life. The lines on faces when you keep awake nights. You say insomnia, I say it's a gift. Within the structure of the desolate district.
Can't hear the sirens no more. Illuminate slogans on your door. Your desolate district.
It didn't exist in our world. Basically what I did was I handed him the music that Chris and I did.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm just going to give it to Chris and let him do whatever he wants with it. And when he returned it to me, those were his lyrics.
Wow.
So I think that's freaky too.
That is, holy crow.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I need to look at my new EPs and stuff and go, what's in here that I probably don't want to predict?
Yeah, run your
I'm just
lyrics.
kidding.
Run your lyrics past the CDC.
Right. Exactly. Oh no.
So again, I was listening to the EP, and I love the. There goes my son. And
Hey, son. Son, you got badass hair.
That's
Your dad
Rona.
gave
She
you
says,
some nice curly hair.
"She likes your hair."
Thank you.
Yeah, people pay a lot of money for that kind of hair.
He made his day. All right, now get out of here. I got stuff to do. Hey, he's a good kid.
Funny.
So, he's picking up the bass right now. He plays
Oh yeah.
tuba and sousaphone in the school band. He's a senior this year, and they have they have this percussion ensemble that they're doing, and he wanted to be part of that, but it's mostly percussion. He doesn't play percussion per se, but they said, "Oh, we'll pick up a." They asked him, if he knew any guitar thing, and he had taken guitar lessons when he was a little younger. He's like, "I'm gonna play guitar." Said, well, here's a bass. Now go learn this. So he's got a bass and he's learning some bass.
That's awesome. I love bass. I wanted to play bass too after I saw Simon Gallup from The Cure playing. I was like, I need a bass now, Dad. And he's like, no. I'm kidding. He was like, okay, show me you're able to practice and play some bass notes for me, and then I'll get that bass for you. It was a Fender P bass because that's what Simon was playing and I wanted it. I soon realized that I'm not a bass player.
Oh no.
No.
Oh.
Key bass, yes. Bass drum, yes.
I like the bass a lot.
I do too.
I've tried to teach myself guitar. Basically right now I just like banging around on it and making noise. But I really enjoy playing the bass. But I love like slinky bass. You mentioned the Cure. You do like cockatoos. Which is so good. That's a really cool version. I like that a lot.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I was very inspired by that song. It's one of my faves by The Cure. The Cure is like my number 2 band. They're just like, I love them as much as I do Depeche Mode. But it's not that I want to put anyone in rankings, right. But you know what I mean.
That'll be the next show.
Yeah. But yeah, I really love that song, and I didn't want to do it exactly like theirs, but I just felt, it would be kind of cool to do kind of a quiet version and then like blast them out with this like rock ending,
Yeah.
And it works really well in a live environment if I have a band.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because then there's live like guitars and drums, and that's how I prefer to perform that version.
I think it kind of needs it. There's certain songs that just that's what it needs.
Yes, and I completely agree.
So with Corona, how often are you getting a chance to play out nowadays? Is things opening up out in the Austin area at all, or?
It's kind of shaky, just like anywhere else. We did have shows for an event called Free Week in Austin, which it's basically the Red River Cultural District puts on this yearly event, and they have locals play, and all the shows are free, so everyone can just like roam and check out a bunch of cool bands. So it's really fun. Awesome. Yeah, so we just recently did that. Curse and I both did. And, now I think we're starting to kind of see some stuff get canceled and pushed back. And, I think we're reaching this hump again that we need to get over. Yeah. I suppose. I think that it's so hard to say now, with so many things coming up, but, I think it's time for us to kind of figure out some new ways. If we can't get out there live, we got to figure out how to do something, you know?
Exactly. Oh, my dog decided to join us too here.
Oh, what kind of dog?
Oh, yeah, I'll show you. He's a mix. He's half Australian Shepherd, half boxer. Let's see if I can.
Oh, we have a boxer. Oh my gosh. Hey. Oh, cute. We have a boxer.
Oh man, I love boxers.
We love them. They're awesome. They're one of my favorite dogs ever.
Damn, before my dog distracted me, let me see where was I? So we were talking about you playing live. Do you get a chance to tour outside of Austin a lot, or do you mainly stay local?
I haven't done too many out of state shows, but I have, or out of city rather. Yes, I have played Houston, San Antonio. I just played Dallas on December 2nd with Netzareb. So that was really awesome.
Nice.
Yeah, I got to open for them. Wow. And that was killer at Trees. Yeah. And what's awesome is that Curse and I became friends with Bon Harris, who's, one of the co-founders of the band. So it was really awesome opening up for them, being people I was influenced by musically. Because when I was listening to Depeche Mode, I also listened to Netzareb too, and then also being friends with them. It just was really special and awesome. And it was like the second show I played in Dallas as SINE. So it was great.
Oh, that is awesome. I love hearing stuff like that.
Yeah. And other than that, I've played Tampa, Absolution Fest in Tampa. Also played, well, obviously Orlando.
Yeah.
Yes, Orlando. I'd like to expand and get out to Chicago. I'd love to get to a show in LA, New York, but we'll see how it goes for this coming year. But it's always a goal to try and play other cities and expand your audience.
Oh, I'd love to have you come out to DC area, because that's I'm close to DC. So.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I'd love to.
So you have a new album out on the Emergency Hearts, which we kind of alluded to a little bit earlier.
Yes.
Would I be wrong in saying it's kind of a compilation of the full length and the EP with some remixes and stuff in it?
That's correct.
Okay.
And I like to refer to it as like my catching up with Depeche Mode. It's like my catching up with SINE, I guess, Yeah.
I like that.
And I only did that because I feel like I'm still relatively new to people. So it was kind of a way to, I guess, reintroduce myself to my audience and new audience, and kind of give a bit of a direction. Like, this is kind of where SINE's headed.
Well, I like the idea because being on a label, the first two were independent releases, right?
Correct.
Okay, so doing this, I think, is a fantastic idea. Great way to get people because I know a lot of people who follow labels, and I think it's a great way to get them accustomed to your music and introduce yourself to a wide audience.
Yeah. And that was the main goal for that. And I just figured, wherever someone picks up SINE, that'll be a nice comprehensive look, you know?
I think I remember hearing you say that you were working on some new music. I believe it's an EP trilogy.
That's right.
Mantis?
Yeah.
Is that, did I get the name right?
That's right.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Originally it was going to be just a full-length album, but Scott from Emergency Hearts suggested I break it up and expand the life of the music in a way.
Good idea.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny, really, when you're making music and then releasing it, because a lot of the times when we release music, sometimes it's a few months to sometimes almost a year old to us.
Right.
So it's kind of like we've spent all that time working on it, so it's kind of like once you put everything out, then that's it.
Yeah.
So this is a good way to kind of pace yourself, and also gives me an opportunity to work a bit with Mark Pistol, because I'm always coming up with ideas, and sometimes I'll come up with multiple ideas, and sometimes songs will just write themselves.
Nice.
And so I sent him a couple of demos and he's worked on a few things, but it's a thing where I might just tell him, hey, wait, stop working on that one thing because I have this thing that just came up and it is like almost a song.
Oh, nice.
You know what I mean? So that's kind of how I've been working lately, is just kind of seeing where my inspiration falls and then go from there. But Mark's awesome to work with.
Now, is all the music written already and you're just going to release it as 3 separate EPs, or are you just kind of working on it and then releasing it as it goes?
I am, there are completed songs that are ready for release. And there are also a few in the works that if they become complete, we'll put them on there. But if not, then they might have to go on the next one, so we just have to see how things flow. But I like to keep it open-ended because, now is kind of a time for change and a time for things happening spontaneously, so that's what I'll be looking for, is whatever grabs me.
Well, one of the things that I noticed that grabbed you was this TV series that you worked on, Villains Wear Black Presents. Mm-hmm. How did that happen? What is that about?
Well, that only happened because of the pandemic, really. All the tours got canceled, Curse had probably almost, I don't know, like 60 to 100 dates get canceled. Ooh. In 2020. Yeah, it was a pretty big deal.
Wow.
And a lot of people had that, they had their entire tours canceled. So it was depressing. And I think the only way that I was able to cope with that was just go, well, somebody's put an obstacle in my way, and how do I get around it?
Nice.
And so I go, I'll be a TV producer. Everyone's watching TV now.
Hey, why not?
So why not? But the beauty of it all was that the show was mine. Curse was my co-host and also helped curate guests and videos and things on the show.
Excellent.
And what I really wanted to do was I wanted to give myself, him, and our friends, all of our musician friends and bands that we were fans of, a place to get their music out, get their new videos out, be seen on real television.
Yeah.
And broadcast online worldwide, and replays, even though I did 2 seasons worth, but even though I paused for a bit, they still replay the episodes. So I like that. I like that people are getting that constant exposure. So really that's why I did it, was because we couldn't play live. And I saw a lot of my friends and people I care about suffering through it, because they couldn't play music anymore. And if you tell an artist that they can't do their art, I mean, it's
devastating.
It's like death, hate to be so dramatic, but really, it's like, that's who we are, and so I loved doing it. The only part I didn't really enjoy was the constant video editing, but that, when you're the producer, the editor, and everything else, it's like the work. It's a pretty heavy load to do an hour show every week, so.
Yeah, I know. I mean, adding video to this would be just, I don't know if I could do it.
Oh, yes. And see, that was the thing, is we would have interviews and then I would spend time, because I only had an hour slot on the television, but I'd talk to someone for like 3 hours.
Yeah.
So it'd be like, okay, how do I cut this down to 30 minutes or so? But I had all my newbie producer, inefficiencies, but I enjoyed it. I love it. And I would do it again if I have the time and
awesome
resources. I would do another season. I would do several. But originally, Villains Wear Black was supposed to be live events. So that's another reason why I morphed it, because I was able to do one Villains Wear Black Presents show in Austin in February of 2020.
Oh, wow.
And then, right. And then March, that's when everything went to hell. So it was kind of like my continuation of that idea, but just put in a different format because we couldn't do live events. So that was the next natural thing.
That's some resiliency right there. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Well, it's like I'm either resilient or just really torturous of myself.
Well,
I don't know.
well, I really have enjoyed the Desire, Denial, and Paramania album. That's
Yeah.
Paramania.
Yeah.
So how did you come up?
Did you look it up?
Yes, I did. How did you come up with that title? I love it. I think it's hilarious. So the definition is someone who has it's an abnormal pleasure in complaints.
Yeah. Sound familiar? Everyone,
Yeah.
you know?
I love it.
So the reason why I chose that title was for a lot of different reasons, but I was really liking, of course I love New Order and Power, Corruption, Lies, So I was like, oh, that kind of sound felt good to me. I thought, okay, desire, denial, it's like these are human conditions that everyone has, a desire to do something to something. Denial, not me. Nope. Paramania is, oh, my elbow, I can't this. I don't know how to that, blah, blah, blah. The people who don't want to change their lives, So really it's kind of my humorous way of going, these are 3 words that describe probably everyone in some way or another,
That's awesome.
But I'll give you the insight on the word paramania and where I got it from.
Okay.
I got it from the Foo Fighters.
Oh,
Isn't
man.
that funny? And now we all come back. Everything comes back to Dave Grohl.
it's
You know
all
what I mean?
circular.
It's all circular and it ends at Dave Grohl.
The 2 O's in Foo.
Yeah, but there's a song called Wind Up, which I love. And he says, farewell, my sweet paramania. And I always thought that was a great line. So it just kind of like stuck with me. So when I came up with this title, it just got pulled from the back of my Foo Fighters little file cabinet. And here we are. That
is awesome. Well, I love the rhythmic connection to New Order, and electronica is not my wheelhouse, but I love hearing new music. I love learning new people. And going back, I remember when I was in college, bands like Meat Beat Manifesto and Pigface were huge with my friends who were really big into industrial Cop Shoot Cop, and I never got into it until having some guests on who were really into it, like Joe Cardamone. He loved it. If you haven't heard his latest album, his Holy War album, and the stuff he's doing with Mark Lanigan, it's incredible. Yeah. So
killer.
But
I'll check it out.
Yeah.
You got to talk to Curse sometime because he sings for Pigface.
Yeah, I would love to have Curse on. And
maybe you could coerce Martin Atkins on here too.
I'll take whoever you can help me with. So
yeah,
what happens is I end up doing a deep dive as deep as I can go into people listening to the albums, finding old interviews and listening to old podcasts and whatever interviews they've done in the past, and just trying to pull out nuggets and make things to find interesting things to talk about. Listening to some of your music and the remixes, like the Meat Beat Manifesto dub remix
so
of.
Good.
Illuminate slogans on your door. Your desolate district behind the sun, designed by nobody else to. Yeah,
and I'm hearing sounds like, oh my gosh, that sounds like something I heard back in '92 when I was in college. Like this, and. The Death Mark remix of Need to Bleed, I think I like that even better than the original version.
Oh, really? Oh, thanks.
Yeah, I love that. And the last one is
awesome.
The Desolate District Night remix. I really love the remix. I'm starting to understand a little bit more about why people like remixes.
Yeah, I like it because it shows the creativity of the person doing the remix, you know, and the reimagining of your own song. It's really cool. I like it. And I don't give people direction. I just say, do whatever you want.
That's awesome.
You know, and each remix kind of has its own little unique touch to it. And I like that diversity, you know. So
yeah. And like I say, it's kind of, it's kind of opened my eyes to why people like doing remixes and hearing remixes, and open my ears a little bit more to industrial and electronica. So thank you for that.
Oh yeah. It's a lot of fun over here. Come on over. We're not all vampires.
No.
Most of us are, but not all.
Not all. All right, that's cool. I have to let my wife know. It's safe.
Yes, no one will bite you, promise.
Well, where can people pick up the? I don't really want to say compilation. The introduction of Desire, Denial, and Paramania. Where can people find it, and how can they follow you on social media?
So my website is SINE.band, and I'm currently redoing it, so it's not much but a landing page. But they can also buy my music at sineofficial.bandcamp.com, or you can just go to emergencyhearts.com, and my catalog is there as well.
Awesome.
And I think those are pretty good places to start. And then I'm sure you could find me through social media on any of those channels.
Yeah. What are the Instagram accounts? Are you on Twitter?
I think it's SINE Band Official.
Okay. This has been a blast. I really thank you for coming on and joining me and
thanks. And I'm sorry that I was late. I totally like medicine head the whole thing. I was like,
I understand
just lost in space.
Not a problem. I understand it. When you're not feeling well, time just kind of goes on its own.
It's bizarre. I feel like I just woke up.
Yeah. Believe me, I've been doing that for a week and a half. 28th. before New Year's. So
jeez.
You just lose all track of time. It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we got to chat, and I'll certainly look out for this whenever it's out. Let me know, and I'll certainly think your podcast and all that stuff.
Can't complain, a broken mind, a film to play. In the spire I can see your smile with sharpened teeth and chainsaw ride.